I want to get to that request that the city has put out. What do you need residents to be doing?
You know, Blake, and you kind of started off the discussion with that. The thing that we are asking residents to do right now is if you are still dripping your faucets, stop the dripping. Any use of water that you have that's going on that is not ultimately necessary for your health and safety, please reduce or eliminate. To put it in perspective, what we have going on in the city as we try to restore pressure, especially to our towers and our tanks, is we have one huge just suck of water going on in households throughout the city and businesses as well, of where they still have faucets running in order to be able to try to keep that water going in order so their pipes don't get frozen. At this point in time, just as we are trying to get those towers and tanks filled so that power or that pressure can be restored throughout the city completely, we need that reduction in any way or capacity to be able to do this. We've been able to get ahead of things on our being able to go out and just main breaks that are occurring. Put things in perspective, we have about 20 leaks and breaks that we are still working on. We'll get about 6 of them done today, 9 of them tomorrow, with the remaining that will go out with contractors for next week as they're able to get their crews in. And so a lot of the stuff that is also pulling from the system is getting fixed. But the difficulty is, though, we still have quite a bit that's still flowing out at people's homes that we need to have reduced or eliminated.
And Ed, tell me, a part of this request is the fact that right now, you guys are saying that Tyler's hospitals and the dialysis patients, they depend on adequate water pressure for life-saving measures, and right now we're not at that level. Is that correct?
So that's exactly right. Is that now? I don't want to make it sound as though they aren't able to take care of the patients that are there, but there has been a plea, especially on the dialysis side, for increased pressure in order to be able to get their work done. The other piece of it is not just even what's needed for just basic health and safety at the hospitals and their procedures that they're going through, but also just for heat with their boilers that they have. There's a certain amount of pressure that they need for both, especially for Christus Stream, Mother Francis, and UT Health, in order to be able to have those hospitals operable, warm for the patients that are there. And so without that pressure, those boilers are having difficulty keeping warm and keeping those buildings warm.
And Ed, when we spoke yesterday afternoon after that 3 o'clock update from the city, I know throughout the day the pressure had been slowly rising. It had kind of leveled off because you guys had run into finding more water main breaks as the temperatures slowly went up. You mentioned some of the places they'll be out repairing today. They've got more to repair tomorrow. When do we anticipate, and obviously we are probably still finding water main breaks. What's the situation with that? When do we anticipate all of those being repaired?
You know, we anticipate all of them being prepared next week. Now, a lot of those, though, the major repairs will be done today and tomorrow as we get out there and get the substantial ones. We go through and prioritize which ones are what level of emergency that we need to be able to get to be able to work on those lines and get them fixed. But kind of the point is just is that when you have a straw, you may have a break there, but the more pressure you put into that straw that has any type of hole in it, the more water is going to shoot through it. And that's in essence what's happening with some of these leaks and breaks that we have throughout the city, especially down in the southern parts of Tyler, as we've been able to increase pressure throughout the day, yesterday and into today, of where we're seeing more water flowing from those breaks just because of the amount of now water being pushed through them. And so as we find those, we're getting them fixed. Thankfully, we haven't had any new leaks reported today. And so as of this morning, right now, what we're seeing is just the things that we've been able to capture since Valentine's Day and work on repair and fix. We haven't had anything new that's come through today. So that's good news for us. Also, we see for Golden Road and for Lake Palestine plants, those are continuing to increase their pressure that they're putting out there. So there is hope on the very near horizon. But for today, especially, we need really all of the community to come together to kind of help get that pressure back up and be able to keep it sustainable, especially today for those in dire need at the hospitals and our dialysis centers.
And Ed, I'm curious, without people, taking those measures to, stop the faucets from dripping while they can today, while we, have the chance to get above freezing for a little bit. Without people taking that action, would we be able to get the pressure back up? I guess it would take longer than it should.
That's exactly right. As you can imagine, as you're trying to get towers and tanks back filled up, and so here's actually the great example. Typically, between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. is the times that everything kind of gets restored to normal on a typical day here in Tyler. And that's where, as we looked at then our analysis from last night, where we saw that we didn't have that drop in usage that we usually have that allows for tanks and towers to be refilled to have to use for the next day. And thus, the reason we're still struggling with the amount of pressure that's in the system today is as people left their water on last night or their pipes dripping, then that caused, we never were able to catch up, which is where we needed to be.
And Ed, I have a question here from someone who's watching. The question is, so for people in Tyler, how do they identify what their problems are? What signifies broken lines, frozen lines, water main breaks? How do you, specify what the issue is and tell it apart from other issues?
So for water main breaks, we're looking for what's going on in the street. Where is it that we're seeing water just flowing in the street? And that thing indicates that there is some type of line break that is on the city side that needs to get fixed. For homes with just where there is inadequate pressure coming through, you may still see a drip or kind of as you turn on your faucet, just a little bit of water coming out. And so that's going to be a pressure issue. It could also be just also the amount of your pipes that may be frozen that's still allowing some water to get through, but not completely. If you turn on your faucet and there is no water coming through at all, and though that there's nothing in the street, that is probably where your pipes are frozen. If you are able to go out to the meter and look, and what we call, and pardon the phrasing, but it's a snowflake. If you have the snowflake on your meter is still turning though, and you're not having water coming out through your sink, then you have busted pipe somewhere because water is flowing through to your home and it's flowing out somewhere, but it's not flowing out through your faucets.
And Ed, I noticed in the latest update from the city that you guys sent out this morning, you said the city will work with local nonprofit organizations to help those without insurance, like senior citizens maybe, who have suffered a lot of water-related damage due to those frozen pipes bursting.
Yes, that's something as we are looking just kind of in the weeks ahead, always looking at what's going to be our next situation, what's going to be the next problem, is assisting people with, especially those who are low income or unable to take care of some of the things that the bills that they probably have coming, of trying to figure out with our nonprofits, how can we assist them with financial, as far as means, in order to be able to get them to be of those repairs done, and also maybe helping with billing, those type of situations. They have policies already that allow for them to kind of be able to screen people, and also with FEMA, has been declared a emergency at the national level, as well as state level and county level. There will be ability for reimbursement to the city for some of this as we go through it.
And Ed, I have another question here. If we were to see that drop in usage today, what would the timing look like for getting that water pressure throughout the city back to normal levels? And I know it kind of varies for, depending on where you live in the city, but when can we expect that to happen if people, listen to the request and turn the faucet drips off?
If they do that request, we should really be able to see tomorrow and then especially into Sunday, that full recovery. As you had mentioned, it's depending on where you live in Tyler, you're going to be experiencing different things, even just right now. There are reports that we have from people who live on the west side of Tyler of where they have full pressure. But meanwhile, those in the center of Tyler are either having inadequate pressure or little to no pressure. And then as you move your way out towards UT Tyler, there's still some pressure issues there. So it's really going to be depending upon where you live, but for the full city, you should really start to see a better recovery tomorrow, and especially into Sunday, and definitely into next week.
And it's something you and I talked about yesterday afternoon. And again, you are the city manager for the city of Tyler, but people in White House get their water from the city of Tyler, and they're being affected by these issues also. You had mentioned yesterday, once we can get pressure back up, say in the Woods neighborhood of the city of Tyler over by the UT Tyler campus, at that point we can start pushing water down and get the pressure back up to the people of White House, who right now we know some people there, the faucets are running dry. They have no water at all. What's the timing like for them right now?
We aren't the primary water provider for the city of White House. We are an alternate provider for them, but we are definitely keeping them in our considerations. In fact, I just spoke to our state representative who is very concerned about that and asking kind of what's the timetable and ability to get that done. So many eyes and concerns are on our ability to assist with White House with their water needs. And our timetable for that is still just as you described. We're kind of waiting to see what kind of pressure can we get restored to UT Tyler, the Woods area, and then that's as we continue, as we're able to get that done, then we can be able to continue marching downward to White House in order to be able to get them water at an adequate pressure to be able to provide for their system.
And Ed, I want to shift from water to roads now. I was out this morning, not driving. I've been walking to the station. It's only about a mile. It's not too far. But I noticed at lots of the intersections in town, people are having trouble. I would almost go as far to say that people may be feeling a little overconfident this morning after driving through some of the snow. One of our meteorologists yelled yes. People got kind of comfortable driving in the snow, but this morning, it's a much different situation out there. What's the latest with the roads in the city of Tyler?
Your meteorologist friend behind you is exactly right. This is probably the worst part of our streets since this whole situation began back around Valentine's Day. You have snow with ice packed on top of that, with snow on top of that. It froze again last night. Last night was probably, from those who are out on the roadways, especially later in the night, this is the worst they've seen it during this whole incident, an event that's gone on. And so, we've been pleading all week, and this, I know people probably, are that confident because they were looking at that forecast and saying, oh, good, by Friday, I'll be able to resume my life. No, you still have to be able to stay off the roadways, allow thawing to occur. Now the weather forecast looks good as we come into the weekend, but you still have to have that ice thaw out. And so, especially the neighborhood roads are very treacherous. Our highways, we continue to be able to have them plowed and sanded. But I wouldn't, if you are not an experienced driver in the snow, and we Texans are not, don't get out if you don't have to. It is, especially for today, it's save your confidence for this weekend to be able to maybe drive around a little bit more and to get out. But today, especially this morning and going into the afternoon, steer clear of the roads.
Absolutely. And given the situation we have right now, and while, we'll get above freezing for a brief moment this afternoon, hopefully, we still expect to have problems even tomorrow morning. Are crews still going to be out there throughout the day today, overnight tonight, and into tomorrow treating the roads?
They are. In fact, especially with last night and today, they've never stopped. They kept going throughout the night and into this morning in order to be able to continue treating them, just because we knew that we would be seeing this type of freezing condition occur and the slickness of them. And so it was, we will continue going through this for the weekend until really you start to see a major thaw occur and the roadways become a little bit clearer.
Mayor Warren, I want to bring you into this conversation. Tell me, since we spoke yesterday afternoon, we got that update around 3:30. What's new from your angle here? What's going on in the city?
Well, it seems like things have calmed down a little bit. One thing that we talked about yesterday was the fire hydrant and someone taking the caps off the fire hydrant. I received a communication last night over in the Pollard edition where another cap was taken off of a fire hydrant. And like I said before, I mean, if you see somebody hanging around a fire hydrant, please call the police, because that's a huge release of water, and we just don't need that to occur. Now, one thing that's really been beneficial is, I think, just the whole ability to communicate. And so if anyone out there cannot get in touch with someone at the city with an issue, people are constantly either texting me or private messaging me or whatever. So if you can't get in touch with somebody and you need to communicate, private message me and I'll get you in touch with whoever you need to be in touch with. But I just want you to be able to get somebody. The fact that if you're not able to contact somebody, that's where the frustration level comes in. And we all want to be accessible. And Blake, probably the last thing I want to say is the city staff. When I get up in the morning and I look at the teams meetings and I see these communications at 2:00 in the morning and 3:00 in the morning and 4, and you see all these people that are out there fixing these water main breaks, they're freezing and they're dealing with water issues. And so I want to thank just all the city staff for what you're doing to get us through it. And we're almost there. And lastly, I just want to thank the citizens that are being patient and are getting through this. And I really am looking forward to 50s on Sunday.
Yeah, isn't it kind of weird to say that? Man, that's break out the shorts and the T-shirt, right?
Right.
All right, Mayor Warren, City Manager Ed Broussard, thank you both so much for updating us, and keep us updated, please. We appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you, Blake.
All right, take care. Okay, so there you have it. City Manager Ed Broussard, City of Tyler, and Tyler Mayor Don Warren joining us this morning, updating us on what's going on in the city with the various issues that we're dealing with right now. The big one continues to be water. The city's putting out an urgent request this morning, asking people if you're still dripping or running the faucet to prevent frozen pipes. If you can, use today as an opportunity with the sun out and temperatures slowly, going up.
Right,
they
very
won't get up
slowly.
very much, but use this as an opportunity to temporarily lower your usage as much as possible because they're having some problems bringing that water pressure back up. This is something typically, Jeremy, that would happen overnight if we had a problem like this. We would be able to knock it out in one night. Everybody's asleep. They're not using water. Well, a lot of people last night, like they have been all week, the faucets were running or dripping, and that's really created some problems with the water pressure and being able to get it back up to those levels that they need it to be safe and to get everybody water, because we know that there are people with different kinds of issues. City manager mentioned it there. Some folks in parts of Tyler, I believe he said West Tyler, they've got pretty much almost full pressure. In other parts of the city, low pressure, if any water at all. And we know in White House they're really dealing with some problems because obviously things would have to really return to normal here in the city of Tyler to get the pressure back to a normal level in the city of White House to really get them water at all. We have some folks who live down there and they've been sending us video. They turn on the faucet, nothing comes out, not one drop. And that's what they're dealing with right now. And so they really need people to kind of help out in this process because it's not something that's normal. Nothing about this week has ever been normal.